Hello and welcome to another Hero Headcanon. Yeah, I'm still here. So I think I'm titling this video Superheroes and Selflessness, or something along those lines, because I am super clever. Of course, superheroes are selfless people. It is a defining aspect of what makes them a hero. But should it? I was inspired to make this video when I thought back on the ending of Avengers Endgame. So, spoilers for Endgame, but honestly, if you haven't seen it by now and have made it this far without running into a spoiler for Endgame, go see a science person or a priest or somebody because I believe you are a unicorn. Now, with the precious unicorns away, I want to talk about the ending of Endgame for at least three specific characters: Iron Man Tony Stark, Thor Odinson, and Captain America Steve Rogers. Tony Stark sacrifices his life to destroy Thanos' army and save humanity. Thor has retired from being King of Asgard to hang out with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Steve went back in time to live out his days with Agent Peggy Carter. Why is this important? Because it shows the complete character arcs fulfilled. Iron Man was a selfish jerk who made the ultimate selfless sacrifice one can make by trading his life for the lives of, due to Thanos' revised plan, the entire universe. Thor went from a power-thirsting man obsessed with ruling a kingdom to becoming a fun-loving nomad who will help when he is needed, but otherwise wants to go where the cosmos take him. And Captain America went from a man who would lay down everything he had to someone who finally decided to make himself happy. Oftentimes, we think selfishness is wrong. It is the worst attribute we as humans can have, but only when we overdo it. Same can be said for selflessness. In my headcanon for Spider-Man, we've talked greatly about this. Peter Parker literally blames himself for things he would have absolutely no control over. The great responsibility that has come with his great power needed to come with great antacid for the ulcers he's been giving himself. While nowhere near as strong as the poster child for self-destructive self-sacrifice, MCU Thor and Captain America have done almost nothing but selfless acts. From the moment the movie began, Steve's only goal was to help others in some way, from trying to join the army, to do his part for his country, his friends, to jumping on what he thought was a live grenade to shield his fellow soldiers, to piloting the rogue Hydra ship into the Arctic ice to keep the world safe, even at the cost of potentially his life and the chance to dance with the love of his life, Peggy Carter. Thor's journey may not sound as noble and self-sacrificing, compared to Steve's, but it is a self-sacrifice all the same. Though he may boast a lot, Thor's actions were for his people. He believed that his destiny was to only become king, that he was supposed to be held to a standard so high that the odds of him actually living up to them would be next to impossible, that he's not supposed to be like everyone else, that his actions never affected only his fate, but the lives of millions. The fate of a kingdom rested on only his shoulders. Now, why do these heroes deserve to be selfish at least once, like I implied in the beginning of this video? Because the MCU is the only real place the heroes can finally rest once the day is saved. The best and worst part about comics is that they will never end. Like in real life, the war between good and evil will rage on forever. As long as there is life, there will be the war between the good and the bad. And those heroes will never stop fighting. In comics, not even death can stop the heroes and villains from fighting this never ending battle. With the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe will always have at least one constraint. It is created in a real world with real flesh and blood people portraying the parts of the heroes. Eventually, the actors will want or have to leave. It's not like the comics where the hero's journey can constantly continue, just with a new writer and or artist guiding them. So for the MCU, there are only really two options: die or retire. And in the case of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, the journey and the endings they chose felt right. They felt earned. Tony Stark went from a selfish jerk to doing the ultimate act of selflessness ever because he wouldn't be able to rest if he didn't. Captain America went from one of the most selfless people ever to choosing to make one selfish choice so that he could finally rest. And Thor realized he was trying too hard to be the best version of himself. For everyone else, that he didn't even know what the best version of himself was to him. He worked so hard to be the king of Asgard, the great leader, the strongest Avenger, that he had to be the great protector of the Nine Realms. But he did it for everyone else. And because of it, he would fail. Because he set his standards to please everyone. And you can't please everyone. That is the fool's goal. The only true no-win scenario. Even Captain Kirk would find that it to be the only test he couldn't pass. But after getting to go back in time to talk to his mother, Thor realized the folly of his journey and learned that you always fail at who we are supposed to be. We can only be the best at who we actually are. And that's why Thor left to travel with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He knew his path wasn't to be king of Asgard. To be honest, he didn't know what his path was. He was going to have to learn who he was. Sure, he might stop off and throw an axe at a raging monster here and there to save someone, but he was no longer going to sit on the throne because he chose to be selfish to make up for the 1,000+ years of selfless torture he put himself through. Okay, so yeah, being selfish every now and again is fine so long as in the end we are selfless in the long run. Sounds about right. Sounds reasonable. But why does it matter? Why make a video to talk about this? Remember in my in-game Thor video and in my recent multiverse video, I said I ended up relating a lot to Thor, a character that I had previously loathed. Well, his selfish choice is one I could, and perhaps should, see myself make one day. I love my parents. I technically fall under the umbrella of millennial that lives with his parents, but the reason I do isn't because it's cheaper and I can spend all my money on avocado toast and fidget spinners. No, I live with my parents because I take care of them. I buy groceries, pay the electric bill, buy their medicine, and pay their doctor bills. And I've been basically doing that since high school. I didn't really socialize or do after school crap because I had to be home doing dishes and washing clothes. That's why even now, if my coworkers want me to hang out with them, I need a minimum week's notice, a month if I'm going to need spending money. And even then, I'll still try to politely try to turn them down. Honestly, the best way to force me to hang out is tell my parents, because they really do want me to have a few selfish moments. They want me to spend money on myself from time to time. Hell, this past May when I was unable to go to Dallas Comic Con for a variety of reasons, they were more upset about it than I was. So why don't I take their advice and, as the kids say nowadays, treat yourself more often? Because a lot like Spider-Man, I blame myself for things that I have no control over. After getting my income tax this last February, I spent nearly $100 on myself. Shortly thereafter, my father was diagnosed with bladder cancer. At the time of this video, he is cancer-free though, thankfully. And that Comic Con trip I was planning on going to, part of the reason that ended up not happening was because a month beforehand, my parents got into a car accident. Again, at the time of this video, everything is fine and our lives are back to the normal status quo. But in both instances, I blame myself. If I hadn't have decided to spend so much money on myself, especially at one time, or planned a stupid, silly, self gratifying trip, my dad would never have gotten cancer and our car would have been fine. But in my logical mind, I know that's not what caused any of this. But in my emotional heart, I feel responsible, even though nothing I could have done would have changed anything. When I was growing up in elementary school, I was labeled the smart kid, the gifted kid. I was in advanced classes, was lined up to go to an advanced middle school, but that summer, before I started middle school, my granny got sick. She died that October. And for how smart I was supposed to be, No matter how gifted I was, there wasn't a damn thing I could do for her or my mom. To this day, I don't really like people treating me like I'm intelligent in any way, because smart people are supposed to be able to do at least two things: play chess and solve problems. And I get bored with chess, I couldn't save my granny. So obviously, I'm not smart. But on a sillier note of my selflessness, I often fantasize about winning the Publishers Clearinghouse. When I mention it aloud, most people that know me often go, "Oh, so how many Batmobiles and Batsuits and toys and comics do you think you're going to buy yourself?" I just laugh because honestly, those are the furthest purchases from my mind that I think about. The math I mostly think about is donating to charities, buying my family a new home, hiring my friends to help me with this show so they don't have to work a crappy job, buying some of my other friends gifts, or just giving them money to thank them for all they've done for me. Anyway, that was my hero headcanon slash therapy session for this month. Let me know in the comments down below which superhero you think deserves a one free selfishness card and what they would do with it. For Hero Headcanon, I'm Josh Redburn, and I'll see you next